We're going to have the invocation by Councilmember Chris Smith and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember not Vince Maggio, Jeff Free.
All right, let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. Lord, we pray that you will be with us in these council chambers today as we conduct the business of the city of Bossier City. Lord, I pray that you will touch each and every one of us, Lord, as we leave out of here. Keep us safe. We ask all this in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we do have a couple of people that has the COVID, so that's why we're short. Phyllis, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Montgomery, absent. Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Hammonds?
Here.
Mr. Darby, absent. Mr. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Free?
Here.
Mr. Maggio, absent. Council, in accordance with Louisiana open meetings laws and the adopted Bossier City Council meeting rules resolution, the City Council asks for order and decorum at our meetings. Please silence your cell phones. Anyone wishing to address the council on any agenda items may approach and state their names and address for the record and shall be permitted 3 minutes to make their comments on the particular item that's up for discussion, with up to 4 speakers per side. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, or who shall become boisterous while addressing the council, shall be forthwith, by the President Pro Tem, barred from further audience before the council unless permission to continue be granted by a majority vote of the council. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any member thereof. No question shall be asked a council person or the mayor except through the meeting chair. All other audience members are asked to observe the meeting quietly. City Council has appointed the city marshals as the sergeant at arms, and they have been instructed to maintain decorum and ask anyone in violation to step out of the meeting. And council also, just for clarity purposes, since there are only 4 members here today, every item before it can be adopted, done anything with, has to be unanimous.
Okay.
And that is in the city charter.
Mr. President, if I may,
Yes, sir, you may.
that's found in section
Charles, pull your microphone down.
3.13, section of the charter, under subparagraph F. No action of the city council shall be valid or binding unless adopted by the affirmative vote of a majority of the city council membership. So therefore, the majority of the city council would be 4 out of 7. You have 4 members here, which is a quorum, but any vote taken to pass on anything on today's agenda must be by 4 votes.
Okay. Any ceremonial matters, Phyllis?
No, sir.
Need a motion to approve today's agenda?
Council, we have a couple of things that we need to do on the agenda. A couple of changes. Let's see. The first would be an add-on under unfinished business. It would be number 4, adopt an ordinance authorizing Mayor Thomas H. Chandler to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement between the City of Bossier City and the Louisiana Department of Children and Family Services to shelter residents at the Brookshire Grocery Arena. And that's a final reading, and that one was left off the agenda on accident. And so in order for it to be approved, I would need a unanimous vote to add it to the agenda for today.
I'll make a motion that we add unfinished number 4 to today's agenda.
So moved.
Any questions from the audience on this item? Okay, council, please cast your vote.
Has it popped up, council?
Yes.
Okay. It's going to show up here that a quorum, that it's carried. It says a quorum's not met, but it actually is a quorum, but the motion carries. So that will be unfinished business number 4. And then I also have a request from the mayor to add on new business number 9, introduce an ordinance to repeal ordinance number 154 of 2023, first reading.
So move.
Second.
Council, any questions on that?
The mayor wants to talk.
Any questions from the audience on adding this to the agenda?
You want to speak?
Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm respectfully requesting the city council to add this ordinance to repeal ordinance 154 of 2023 to today's agenda. We have all seen what has happened with the Charter Review Commission over the past several weeks, and I believe it is in the best interest of Bossier City to disband this commission. This commission is made up of Bossier City citizens who have volunteered to serve our community. I respect and appreciate the time and effort each commissioner has put into the Charter Review Commission. But it is clear to me that they will not be able to complete the work. The Charter Review Commission has become a distraction, and it is in the best interest of the citizens of Bossier City to dissolve this commission so we can move forward together.
Mayor, will we try to assemble one in the future, you think, or how long? Or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll figure the rest of that stuff out later.
Sir?
So we'll figure the rest of that stuff out later.
Yes, sir.
All right, Phyllis, you need to vote on that one, adding it.
Yes, sir.
Council, you got any questions about that one? All right, please cast your vote.
Motion carries.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay. Does the audience have any questions about our agenda today? Council, any questions? Please cast your vote.
Motion carries.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the July 16, 2024 regular council meeting and dispense with the reading.
So, second.
Council, any questions? Any questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote. All right, we got
Motion carries.
We got bids today.
We have bids, witness opening and seal bids for bid number P24-04, the lateral B1 ditch paving construction.
Good afternoon, Council. Mayor Chandler.
Hey.
Were there bids received? Mine says no
We
bids.
did not receive any bids. You have a copy of the sign-in sheet from the pre-bid meeting for your review, but we did not receive any bids. And I did make a mistake. This is for project number P24-05, not 04, if you need to amend the minutes.
Ben, what do you think's going on? Nobody wants any work? They all got enough money or what?
The only explanation that, and Mr. Nixon's here, he's the engineer. We had a great mandatory pre-bid, had quite a few can-do contractors on that. What we understand is as of the last day or so that they picked up some other work and therefore are pushing this project. This is the right time of year to be doing it. It's a much-needed project. We'll find out more, but as it stands right now, we're gonna have to regroup and rebid it.
I don't think I've ever, in my years, from people from Bossier reporting around the area that don't want any work.
Well, and everybody talks about the economy being terrible. You'd think we'd get somebody to take a stab at it. I did recently have a project with another client with a similar problem. We ended up delaying it and finding some folks to do it. But I literally learned, I got a note at 2:30 today. We didn't have any bidders on this, so
God.
I don't have a good explanation. I'm surprised. This is a good project. We were really wanting to get this one moving.
Okay.
Ben, what were the allotted days on this job? Do you remember?
Do you remember that? 270.
270 days?
Plenty of time. Anyway, it was vetted. It's a big project, but anyway, we'll scratch the earth, see if we can get some folks outside of those that were on the mandatory pre-bid conference to bid, but I wish I had better news for you. I'm surprised. I would agree. I cannot recall ever coming to a bid opening, particularly on a project worth more than $1 million, and get no interest on it, so. I'll keep you posted.
Public hearing, actions on unfinished business.
Adopt an ordinance to appropriate $100,000 from the EMS Capital Fund to increase the line item in the 2024 general fund budget by $100,000 for fire department vehicle repair and maintenance expenditures. Final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Council, any questions for the fire chief? Any questions from the audience? Please cast your vote.
Motion carries. Adopt an ordinance to eliminate a laborer one position in the street sweeping and grass cutting division for Public Works and change an existing laborer one position to a laborer two position with a pay increase, resulting in a net neutral change to the operating budget to promote a laborer two and backfill any vacant position this creates in the solid waste division. Final reading.
So moved.
Second. Council, any questions? Any questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote.
Motion carries. Adopt an ordinance to approve change order number 2 for the 2023 citywide street improvement project with an increase of $7,098.82 for a total contract price of $1,583,886.95. Final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, council? Any questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote.
Motion carries.
Number 4.
Adopt an ordinance authorizing Mayor Thomas H. Chandler to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement between the City of Bossier City and the Louisiana Department of Children and Family Services to shelter residents at the Brookshire Grocery Arena. Final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Does anybody have any questions about this on the council?
Since Mr. Montgomery's not here and he made the question, just so it's on the record, I got with Richard and Charles, and they both said that his concern was over if there was an event going on that the city is taking care of, and that is in this agreement, so that's been addressed. So I just wanted that on the record, since that was Mr. Montgomery's concern.
Yeah.
Who is the reimbursing party if something does happen? Is it one of those parishes that we're housing, or
Department of Children and Family Services, that's who we're contracting with.
do we have a cap on that, or is it exactly
They
what it
have,
costs us?
Yeah, we have a cost sheet that has been updated by the arena staff, and that is what they have agreed to, so they would reimburse.
As long as
for
we're
all
not
of
out
this.
any money.
Correct, no, it
Okay.
would not be.
All right, council, please cast your vote.
Mr. Hammonds, Mr. Williams.
Yeah, it didn't pop up. I'm a yay.
Mr. Williams.
Oh, yeah, it didn't pop up on mine either.
Motion carries. New business, introduce an ordinance to amend the 2024 water fund budget. First reading.
So moved.
Second. Being anything good to say?
Well, if it's good, but just some housekeeping. This is specifically in our water maintenance division. We have unplanned concrete and some other things. We don't have a crystal ball in there. And the work through the freeze and bleeding over from 2023 into 2024 we're seeing a need for a little bit more money this year to cover what we have in those particular items. So this is to take care of that. You know, we're on track. It's a pretty big budget item already. I think we budget a little over around $250,000 annually for that type of stuff. So that's what we're looking at.
Ben, do you think this is gonna cover, the two major ones we've had in South Bossier right there on 71? Are we gonna need more money?
This will come to you. You've already approved one of those.
One of them?
And we will be closing out the other one soon. I expect them to start placing concrete.
I know
next
that
week.
one was a little bit,
Yeah, we're gonna probably flood that area with a little bit of water, so if you see something going on down there in your district, that's what we're doing. We just wanna, if there's any settlement that's gonna occur, we wanna make sure that we prevent any of that before we come back with, pretty substantial piece of paper.
all right,
But they should be beginning that work next week, and then we'll have a measure before the council to pay for that, so that'll be a separate item.
okay.
This is just the ongoing day-to-day
The
stuff.
ongoing,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Any questions from the audience? Please cast your vote.
Motion carries. Introduce an ordinance to contract with Diligent Services to provide video streaming and automated live captioning services to the city of Bossier City. First reading.
So move. Second. Phyllis, is this the one that you've been dealing with, or
Yes, sir.
you showed me a couple times over the year?
Yes, sir. This will allow the city to now have closed captioning services for our meetings. We will also be able to timestamp agenda items and be able to go to that specific item on the timestamp and be able to email that if somebody wants to see just that particular item. And it's going to be utilized by the city council as well as MPC, and MPC is on board with this as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty good thing. Council, any questions? Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was reading. Is this fee gonna be split with, the MPC?
Yes, sir. We currently split the cost for the voting software that we use now, the agenda management and the voting software, and then this new fee, we will split the cost. And so the 19,000 that you see is the total cost, and we will split that 50-50 with MPC.
Okay.
All right, council, please cast your vote.
Motion carries. Introduce an ordinance proposing amendments to section 3.01B and section 4.01 of the city charter of the city of Bossier City. First reading.
So move.
Second. Charles, of course, the only problem I have is with the retroactive, and you talked a little bit about it a while ago. I mean, anything you need to say right now?
I can say this, the operative section that governs this, this is the petition initiative, which I believe, and I'll let Ms. McGraw correct me if I get this wrong, it was received by the council on July 25th
Yes, sir.
of 2024. And I would direct the city council to section 5.01, where the petition contains and I'm not gonna read the whole pertinent deal, but the pertinent part is where the petition contains a request that the ordinance be submitted to a vote of the people, which this petition does. If not passed without veto by the city council, the city council shall either pass without veto the ordinance without alteration within 30 days of the attachment of the certificate of the Register of Voters, and the certificate was attached to the petition, or forthwith after the Register of Voters has attached her certificate to the petition, the city council shall call an election to be held within 90 days thereafter. Basically, what that says is that city council has 30 days in which to act on the petition, which arrived on July 25th of 2024. If the city council fails to act on that petition, and it's an ordinance, it will require 2 readings. The second reading would be required by a resolution to the bond commission to place that on the appropriate ballot. If the city council does not act within 30 days, then it would have to go then to the bond commission without any action of the city council, so to speak. Which is problematic because the bond commission, again, part of these provisions in the charter that don't really add up, or have been changed over the years. It's my understanding after speaking with, I didn't speak with Mr. Brennan Black, but I believe Ms. Nottingham did today, and confirmed my suspicions that it's going to require a resolution from the city council to the bond commission at some point in time if it's going to be placed on the ballot. So,
And you've heard around who people you talk to about the retroactive not being, maybe not constitutional, or?
well, that could be an issue. I will say this, we're in uncharted territory. That, to the best of my knowledge, and I've searched thoroughly, there's never been a proposed term limit with retroactivity. It's never been done anywhere in the state of Louisiana at any level that I can find. And
But-
so.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. And so there is an argument, and again, I have not researched it myself, but there is an argument floating around out there that it could possibly violate the due process provisions of the Louisiana state constitution. So at this point, we've had conflicting opinions on this. I believe this, when this issue first came to the city council, we got an outside opinion from Keen Miller through Ms. Katie Bell, who addressed that issue at my request, and she did not seem to think that there was a constitutional problem. There are other lawyers who have basically, not in a formal opinion, but have stated, this issue has been well discussed, as you can imagine, in the public, that it could be possible. The answer is, at this point, I don't know. What I do know is that the city council has 30 days in which to act, and then if the city council doesn't act, then the charter requires that it go to the process begins to put this matter on the ballot. That issue that you're discussing, a constitutional problem, retroactivity, there's also some provisions in the civil code concerning, when a law can be applied retroactively, when it can't be, things of that nature, how it affects. It's come up mostly in, not to get too far in the weeds, but in, prescription cases, when a prescription time in which to file a lawsuit changes, things of that nature. But not to get, too far into the weeds on that. That's an issue that is going to either have to be solved at an appellate level or possibly the Louisiana Supreme Court level, if in fact there is litigation results. So you're looking at if somebody is opposed to it and, file something, then that would be an issue for the courts to decide. And I have not found any precedent whatsoever in the state of Louisiana concerning this, but it would be a state constitutional issue. Could be, I guess I should say.
Mr. President, I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
My first question is, the city attorney's office has reviewed the petition and the certificate from the registrar.
That
And
is correct.
last year, there was the date of birth issue, but we do not see any defect
I
with
don't
this
see-
current petition.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm talking, recording it. I failed to see any defect in the face of the petition.
Okay, so for all intents and purposes, legal petition with the correct number of signatures.
Correct.
Okay, so that's settled. The 5.01 doesn't, the way I read it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't really give us an option. If they petition us, we have to at least go through the motions to allow it to be on a ballot, correct?
At some point in time, 5.01 requires action by the city council within 30 days.
Whether we agree with the petition or not.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's settled. And then the third thing, the opinion by Ms. Bell that the city paid for last year, she was asked on this issue of retroactivity.
At my request, because it contained substantially the same language. You're talking about what I call the first petition.
Right.
Correct.
And in her opinion, she didn't see anything wrong with it. She mirrored what you're saying, that it's kind of uncharted territory.
Correct, but she explored, she looked at it and talked about fundamental rights and things of that nature, and she weighed in on the side that she did not believe that it's she did not believe that there would be a constitutional issue. Again, that's, if you put 3 lawyers in a room, you're gonna get 4 opinions. That's just sort of the nature of the game, and there's very little guidance. I'm,
Right.
Just speaking, concerning, this issue. It's never been proposed or
Yes.
attempted before.
Okay, well, I think 3582, and I think there was right at 3,000 on the last one. So, I mean, I think that a lot of work was put in, so congratulations to everyone who took the time to collect 3,582 signatures. That's all my questions.
Yeah, I've got a couple, Mr. President. I know we keep going back to we're in uncharted waters, but I think a lot of what we deal with in America today is uncharted waters on pretty much everything that we're doing, especially when it comes to government agencies. The one thing that I do not want to see, and I will fight tooth and nail over this, is this costing the city of Bossier and the taxpayers of Bossier any more money on legal fees and anything like that to fight this. It's pretty, the people have spoken. I mean, it's right here in the numbers. I mean, even the ones that didn't sign, I wish that in some way we could all be adults and come together and, I mean, term limits are a thing, that they need to be there. It's just, it's good enough for our people in Baton Rouge, it's be good enough for us here. It needs to be in Washington too. Lord knows there's plenty of them that need to go home. But this is, it's already cost us money. Everybody says, well, it'll be up to a judge. Well, then, if that's the case, then send it to a judge. But I think we need to move forward with this. I think we owe it to the citizens. We owe it to the people that have elected us and put us here. People can say, oh, well, people in my district didn't sign it. But I guarantee you there's people in every district that signed this, that want term limits put in place in Bossier City. So I think we need to move forward. We don't need to delay this anymore. I understand there's people not here, Lord. I flew from halfway around the world to be here today, for today. I understand some are sick and some are out of town, but I think we need to move forward. There's 4 of us here. It's what somebody's always told me, it takes 4 votes in Bossier. So we've got 4 sitting right here. So that's all I have.
Any other questions? Any questions from the audience?
One at a time.
As to be expected. David Crockett, 653 Dumaine Drive, Bossier City, Louisiana. Wow. If there were a Nostradamus of Bossier City politics, it would be you, Councilman Hammonds. Great job. And great comments here. And Mayor, thank you for what you just did with the other position on the ordinance to do the charter commission. I think it will lower the tension in the city, and I appreciate you for all those things. I want to first give kudos to the people that Councilman Smith referred to a few seconds ago. Bossier Term Limits Coalition is neither a Republican or a Democrat. It's the Jackie McGee's, the Cassie Rogers, and the Alice Boyers, the many other people that joined in that effort. It's the Bossier Watch crowd. It's the Sobo Live audience. I'm going to create a new moniker here. It's the Settle Talkers in Bossier City. Yes, both the DPEC and the RPEC endorsed Bossier term limits, but it's the beginning of an uprising in Bossier Parish, not just Bossier City. It's an uprising of the common man that this is going to begin in Bossier City, and I think it's going to spread in the parish. Despite comments that were sometimes ugly in some of the meetings that have gone on about the discussion about term limits, the people in Bossier City are well educated on this issue. This is not something that people are pressured to do to sign a petition. You just have to describe the facts. You have to look at what's happening to the policemen. You have to look at what's happening with the budget, and those are the reasons that people signed the petition. They just needed to know the facts. There's a community of volunteers and activists that's growing in Bossier City that made this petition a reality. We had people who called us in order to volunteer, and some of those same people went out and gathered 50 to 100 signatures. We went to every district. We got signatures in every councilman's district. And we also get words that are concerns for people, but I'm not going to mention them today because I'm going to go with the positivity of everything that's been said so far. Term limits is not about one councilman. It's about a council. It's about bringing in new ideas and trying to create a positive approach to the future in Bossier City. The people are informed, the people are activated, and the people want term limits. I would like to ask one question before I leave. If the city attorney wouldn't mind, it's kind of on the subject because I think the Charter Commission was related to term limits also. If you'll please describe the repeal process, if that's a first and second vote process, whether the repeal of the Charter Commission, what action would it take for that to come into effect? But I appreciate the opportunity to talk today about this whole issue. I was going to say a lot more, but let's move forward. Thank you.
Want me to speak?
Please.
The Charter Commission was established by ordinance, and therefore it has to be repealed by ordinance. It would take a first reading and a second reading in order to make that repeal effective, plus your publication and notice periods.
Any questions on that, council? Mr. Rex?
Rex Moncrief, 228 Hickory Ridge Drive, Bossier City, Louisiana, to make that clear after last night's fiasco. Only certain members of this city council are going to be affected by the retroactivity. I believe there are 4 members, if I'm not mistaken. So the real question is, which 4 of you are going to sue? Because after that, then it's a moot point. The retroactivity would have absolutely no bearing legally, only on the 4 members. So who's going to sue? Any takers?
I think there's people, and there's 3 of them not here that made up their mind.
Okay. And Mr. Bubadon, with all due respect, your comments where you asked about the retroactivity show that it is a self-serving deal, not just about term limits.
Well,
So,
that's your opinion.
With all due respect.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name's Robert H. Wright. I live at 6307 West Oxbow Circle. If I heard this correctly, a proper petition comes in, y'all have to act within 30 days. If you don't do that, then it's going to go to the bond commission, but it still has to have a resolution from the city council to do that. What if the city council refuses to do that resolution in that particular time? Term limits is coming whether you like it or not. It's going to come in this election we have, or it's going to come in the elections in April, I can assure you. We need to move on and get this done. One other thing, it's not a big deal, but this term limits coalition began with a resolution at the Republican Parish Executive Committee meeting. So no, it's not Democrat or Republican, but that's where it started from. Guys, let's get this done. It's gonna be done anyway, whether you like it or not. It's coming. The majority of the people in the city want it. You're supposed to be representing them. And I know sometimes you have to make a better judgment than others because you're more informed. I think I heard somebody say that if we're for term limits, that we're uninformed and not educated. I read that somewhere. Not this body. But let's get it done, guys. Thank you.
West Marriott, 211 Shadow Ridge. My comments will be brief. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your tireless efforts in term limits. I just want to publicly acknowledge that you've been there for term limits since the beginning, and that's really important to the city of Bossier. Councilman Hammonds, Councilman Smith, I appreciate your voiced support. So these comments are just to the two who haven't yet spoken out, whether they're in favor or in opposition today. I hope these comments are taken in the manner they received with the utmost respect and with care for the community that I know we all really enjoy living in and we want to enjoy a prosperous future. Last year, the city of Bossier paid for an opinion at the request of the city attorney's office, and the opinion, just as if the city attorney just said that the retroactivity did not cause an issue. To summarize it in layman's terms, the retroactivity does not cause a constitutional issue. Could someone make an argument that is unfair to them? Yes, it's possible that they could. Anybody has the right to do that in court. As I mentioned last night, the government serves with the consent of the people. The people are asking for this to be done. The charter lays out a path for that, and I believe that you're obligated today to vote this forward and to continue the discussion. I think it's a legal matter. You have a precedent to do things in 2 readings. I think that's wise, and the forebearers on this council said, hey, we need to look at everything twice. So whether you agree with this or not, the precedent is set that you agree to move forward. When the full body is ready in 2 weeks or when the next meeting is, you can have a more lively debate. We have more time to research it, but we're not slowing down and stalling the term limits efforts in its tracks and possibly causing a legal issue if you don't get this done in 30 days. So I think that's another argument to vote for this unanimously. You have a mandate from the voters. You've heard from thousands of voters twice. They knocked on the doors, and like I've said in the past, this wasn't 3,500 people that said yes. It was just the first 3,500 that they got to their door. They stopped when they reached the number that they needed to have. I believe that the charter language is clear. I believe your obligations to the Constitution and your obligations to the voters of Bossier is clear. And I look forward to this body unanimously passing this and enjoying a second reading in 2 weeks. Thank you.
If there's not any other comments, council, please cast your vote.
Mr. Hammonds, did yours pop up?
Right.
Mr. Hammonds?
Yeah, I voted yay.
Okay, and Mr. Williams?
I voted too. It's on there.
It's not on mine.
It's an A.
It's a nay. Okay, motion fails. Introduce an ordinance to declare the completion of the Bardo Lane Sewer Line Project, including change order number 1 in the amount of $24,847.80, and to appropriate an additional $21,047.80 from the Sewer Capital and Contingency Fund to complete the project. First reading.
So moved.
Second. Council, any questions?
Yeah, can somebody explain what this overage is for?
This is to close out this project, Councilman Hammond, so there was additional subsurface work that we took care of while we were out there. Bardo Lane has been a problem for us for a while. This we pretty well replaced the sewer completely from Benton Road to Airline, even though Bardo comes up and ties into north side right there. We've even redone the lift station, so.
Okay, so that was just mainly, y'all did some other stuff while you were
Yeah.
out there, okay.
Anyway, we're happy to be out of there. Hopefully, we've disrupted a lot of people's lives along that stretch of road for a while, but we're closing that project out.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Any questions from the audience on this? Council, please cast your vote.
Brian, did yours pop up?
I'm a yay.
Pop up that time?
There it is.
Motion carries. Adopt a resolution authorizing the Bossier City Fire Department to accept the donation of a 2009 Chevy C4500 with the Excellence Ambulance Box from the Bienville Parish Wards 4 and 5 Fire District. First and final reading.
So move.
Second.
Chief, y'all got anything to say? Or we just gonna get a new box?
Is this just the back end of an ambulance, or is this a whole, or is this for when one's wrecked and y'all have to have another one? Oh, okay.
No, it is a full ambulance. We don't need the chassis part. That'll be scrapped. But the box is an Excellence box, and that's what we run. So we can refurb it like we do ours. We'll take that box off, send it with a Freightliner new chassis, and they'll refurb the box. It'll look just like one of ours, and you normally pay, $350, $375 just for the box part of an ambulance. So I just wanted to, they offered it, and I was like,
Yeah.
perfect. So that's it.
Will this already be going into use, Chief, like adding another ambulance? Because I know that's,
If y'all approve this today, that's the one we're gonna send to be remounted.
Okay.
And we've already made some changes and, got with, to kind of document the changes of how the compartments need a layout. And, I think this box is actually 6 inches shorter than ours, but we can make it up in some cabinet space in there. And, so
okay.
that'll be the one we'll send if y'all approve.
Anything free is good.
I like it.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions about this from the audience? All right, council, please cast your vote.
Motion carries. Adopt a resolution authorizing the hiring or promotion of a recreation maintenance worker 1 and backfilling any position this may create for Parks and Recreation. First and final reading.
So move. Second. Council, any questions? Any questions from the audience? All right, please cast your vote.
Motion carries. Adopt a resolution authorizing the hiring of a utility worker for water distribution and public utilities department. First and final reading.
So move.
Second.
Any questions, council? Any questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote.
Motion carries. Adopt a resolution to change the name of portions of Old Benton and Hamilton Road to Walter O. Bigby Carriageway. First and final reading.
So move. Second. Any questions, council?
Yeah, I do. Sorry, I beat you on that one. Ms. Nottingham, I know we had this conversation and, a couple of business owners there that have moved out on the, cost that it would, endue their people that live in numerous apartment complexes right there, and also the length of the name. Did we come up with anything?
We have an abbreviation for carriageway.
Oh, there is one. We found one?
Correct,
Okay.
CWY. And we put an effective date of January 1st, 2025 to allow plenty of time for everyone to make any changes and make plans for that. So it's
Okay.
not effective immediately.
So that is the only people that it would really affect right there, is that one apartment complex, not McRoy Metal and anything else
No, sir.
down there?
There's one, a business, and then the others, I believe, are all empty lots. So,
Okay.
but they've all received notice.
Okay, thank you. No, but that was my main thing. I know that you said you couldn't find carriageway, an
Correct.
abbreviation for
We-
carriageway.
We have that resolved.
All right.
I was going to ask about the apartment complex too, because they reached out to me. Are we going to send out another notice reminding folks?
We certainly can, yes, sir.
I think that would be beneficial.
Absolutely, we can do that, probably around the 1st of December to let them know, so just a reminder.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any questions from the audience? Please cast your vote. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Marriott?
Wes Marriott, 211 Shadow Ridge. This question may seem redundant, but it is a question. Are we just renaming the portions of Hamilton and Old Benton under the assumption that the newly constructed portion has already been named?
The newly
Or are we naming
constructed-
the whole stretch here?
The newly constructed, what, say that again?
Are we, in this ordinance, are you naming just the portions of Old Benton and Hamilton? Or are we also naming the entire project, including the newly constructed carriageway itself?
It's where it comes off of East Texas, right there onto Old Benton, right there. So I don't think Hamilton Road comes into play, does it?
This only renames the portions of existing streets, and then when the new portion is opened, it will have the same name.
I got it.
Did I answer that correctly?
Yes. So the question, I guess, that allows me to ask is, when the carriageway is opened, it will just have that name. There'll be no need to vote on additional name. Is that correct?
That's it, that's Walker.
Okay. Was this name chosen by an action of a committee, or was there any deliberative process? Or what took place to choose legendary statesman Walter O'Bigby as the person to receive this honor of having the street named after him?
Man, this has been a long time ago.
I couldn't find it reviewing the notes
Do you
going
remember
back to when it
anything,
was
Charles?
Parkway North.
That was well before my time.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I would assume that when at some time at the inception or shortly thereafter the project, that's my best guess, that there was some type of action taken by the council to
Or just this?
name it the Walter O. Bigby Carriageway.
The
That's what it's
fir-
always been referred to in my extensive 2.5 years, give or take, as the current city attorney. I could reach out to Mr. Hall and.
Mr. Rauschenbach, when was phase one of, I know Manchac wasn't involved then, but do you have an idea of when that phase one started?
I can find out tonight.
Probably 2012?
I can call Mr. Montgomery, he'll tell me, he'll know.
If phase one was ongoing, I think maybe not quite as early as 2012, but the project itself's been going on for over 2 decades.
Yeah.
And it was named the carriageway before me.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you specifically when that was done.
The reason I ask is, going back to 2009, I reviewed the records for a Parkway North project, but I could never find the transition from Parkway North to Walter O. Bigby Carriageway. And I'm curious how his name was selected. Again, it's a great honor, and there's no doubt he's worthy of that honor as one of the legendary statesmen from this area. But there aren't others equally deserving. Clyde Pearson is an officer of the Bossier City Police Department who died in the line of duty. There are several firefighters and selfless acts of heroism that could have been considered, and I could never find a deliberative process via committee where this name was chosen. And so before we take an action to permanently name it, which I think this is the first time it may have been done, I think it may be an issue to consider.
I think the name, it was already, golly, we voted on that, I believe.
We voted on that. It was named after Walter O. Bigby, who was the state senator and did a lot of work for the Bossier City.
Oh,
specifically.
absolutely. There can be no doubt.
So that's, and I
We had to vote on
do
that.
remember it being proposed, and we voted on it as council.
But no one can recall how that name was selected or whether it was a process via committee or if it was just chosen.
No, I think,
I'll find out tonight. If you leave
Sure.
me or Phyllis your number, I'll give you a holler.
I'm sure someone has it.
that was
Thank you.
proposed, and we voted and agreed to it.
In the records, it appears ordinance 41 of 2017 changed it, was when it was formally adopted from Parkway North to Walter O. Bigby
Sponsored by-
Carriageway. Sir,
Sponsored by,
it was, let me see, I'm sorry. I don't see the sponsor on this one.
What was the
Phyllis,
ordinance
would
you
number?
got the ordinance, so
I
you can look it up.
find it. When was it, Amanda?
This was ordinance 41 of 2017. But it does give some information, detailed history about why it was selected.
Phyllis, after this meeting, would you mind pulling it for
Yes, sir, not a
Mr.
problem.
Marriott?
I will state that Ms. Nottingham was quicker with her phone than I was with mine.
Exactly.
Okay, can we move?
I was
Are there
looking.
any other questions?
You already voted?
No, we're fixing to.
David Crockett, 653 Dumaine Drive, Bossier City, Louisiana. I thought that was a great question, and I've read the history of Mr. Bigby as well. I don't think that anybody would in any way want to say that the naming of the road would be not a good name. I just am concerned, and I think, again, this is the impetus for why we need new vision on the council, I believe, because there were two people that usually sit on this dais that said that we should stop naming cities and roads after politicians and past people, that should stop, but it happened. And I think the impetus for the question was partially because when I'm guessing, I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but when the monument was approved and the design was made, no one in the council knew where the design came from. And I think that that's what hurts a city. That makes it hard to move forward. Every time we go by the monument, we think about the names that are on the monument, and they're not the names of all the people that are in this room. They are the names of the people who named the road. And I think that we need to move past this, but I think it was a good question, and I think we need to question the way the council moves forward sometimes, and that's why we need term limits. I hope that works forward. I do have one more question I wanted to throw out about that whole issue, is no one explained whether, because we had the term limits vote today, I'm assuming that there is a second vote because that's the process, and then it's that second vote that will determine whether a resolution goes forward. And I'm hoping that the resolution is drafted and put before the group in that meeting, because a resolution only takes one vote, so all could be, I'm guessing, accomplished in the next meeting. I'd like to have an answer for the public so we don't have to come up here and ask a lot of people questions that we don't know what the ruling would be on. Thank you.
And again, I would refer to, I'm sorry, Mr. President, is that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's going to require an ordinance. An ordinance requires 2 readings, and then the resolution, as I understand it, would then be, which only requires 1 reading, would be attached to the second reading of the ordinance.
Yes, sir.
In section 5.01 of the charter specifically refers to an ordinance, because that's what it is.
But an ordinance has to be passed twice,
An
correct?
ordinance has to
2
be.
readings,
Has
correct.
two readings, and so this ordinance was voted down. Today, there is nothing to state that the mayor cannot put that ordinance back on the agenda for the very next meeting. There was no continuance, the vote was, it was just voted down, so there's no reason why the mayor can't put it back on the agenda for the very next meeting. I have spoken with Mr. Black myself, and he is waiting with the resolution, for the second reading of the ordinance.
And we may have to have another meeting in between, before the end of the month, though.
Well, you
Correct?
have 30 days.
Yeah.
Mr. Williams, will you indulge me just to continue my comments because I didn't use them all? I'm not in a clear understanding with what was just said, and I appreciate your explanation. So the ordinance that we just had was a first reading. It didn't pass, but that doesn't mean that when it's on the agenda the next time, if it passes, is that the first reading?
Yes,
Yes.
the ordinance we voted on today failed.
I think this council has failed. This council has failed. You gentlemen up here do not represent your districts well. That's the failure here. You're delaying so you don't get it on the December ballot so you can run again. Thank you, and I appreciate it.
Let me tell you something right now. I'm not, this is my last year, okay? I'll tell you that right now. I'm not running again. So I have no reason to do that.
And I've had multiple conversations about term limits in my district. Not one of them was favorable. So I do
But-
represent my district well.
Because those are your friends. Those are the people in
I'm not
Stonebridge.
soliciting. What do
You're
you
the-
think about they are coming to me?
Oh, listen, I'm sure they are. They probably all have business interests in continuing what's
What-
been going on.
What's the population of Bossier City?
About 67,000.
67,000. What percent does 2,900 signatures
Okay,
represent?
let me answer
Less
your
than
questions.
one-half
I'd love
of
to have this
1%?
debate.
Sure.
There are about 30,000 people who vote. That's how many vote in a presidential election.
But
You
we
have about,
represent the
let me answer
whole
your question, please.
city,
Please.
right?
So there are 7,500, 7,800, I think, or maybe around 8,000 that voted for mayor. So the people who are active voters during non-presidential elections, we got, what is that, 30, maybe 5 to 40%. Those are the people that we knocked on doors, many in your district. So if you know your district, you'll know that we walked your district as well. There were many people, when I described what went on in Jeff Freeh's district and what your votes are, they don't like it. So if you want to debate more, I'll be glad to keep the floor.
So I don't represent everyone in my district, just those that voted. I just need to focus
Oh, you
on
don't?
the people that voted. I'm asking you. That's
No,
what
no,
you're
you,
proposing.
no, yes, you do.
Oh,
You do
okay.
represent
Okay.
everybody in your
Right.
district.
So
and many.
67,000 people.
So, wait, let's go back to the facts, because you want to talk about the facts, and I think this is very constructive for the people in Bossier City. Again, we got about 3,600 signatures. But
Right.
many of those people who live in your district are not voters, or maybe there was a problem with their signature on the form. We got over 2,900 signatures on the petition.
Correct.
I could have, if we continued on, I could probably get you 15,000. I can get you way more. How many people voted for you, Mr. Free?
All of them.
Probably about 1,300. I don't know, not many.
I don't know.
So there are a lot of people, and I don't want to make this an ugly session, but I think you
You already
wanted to
did.
make it that,
Yeah.
and I think that you failed the people in Bossier City.
Well, good.
Thank you.
Rex Moncrief, 228 Hickory Ridge, Bossier City, and I'm just going to tee off of that conversation right there, so I may be out of order, but interestingly, Jeff Free, you're my, or excuse me, Mr. President, the councilman to your immediate right happens to be the city councilman from my district. Amazingly, I live there. And I would question him how many doors he actually knocked on, because the Term Limits Coalition knocked on several hundred, and like the national numbers, there was about an 80% success rate with getting signatures and support rate. It's pretty simple. He didn't knock on any doors. I'm his constituent. Thanks, Jeff.
Well, yeah, Rex, you're a property owner there in my district?
Council, do you have any more questions about?
Yeah, I do. Are we talking about Hamilton Road? Is that what we're still on?
The motion on the floor is adopt a
I'm
resolution to
just,
change the names.
So if this was, I'm confused on this. Ms. Nottingham, you said in 2017 that this was an ordinance, why are we, this was always going to be a part of the carriageway, correct, from its inception?
The project at the time was called Parkway North, and so it was prior to the construction of the overpass. And so at that point, they did not, from what I can gather, did not rename the portions of existing roads. It was always intended to be a part of it, but until the completion, that's when they do the final name, official name change, I guess.
I mean, are we on a time crunch to get this done?
It'll be completed within the next month, and so we wanted to have that in place so we could get signage, but it won't be effective until January 1st of 2025. So for 911 purposes and mail purposes, but it will allow the city to put up some of the signage from the monument pointing, directional signage.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got one. I'm just kidding.
Go ahead and ask it. All right, council, please cast your vote.
Motion fails. Introduce an ordinance to repeal ordinance number 154 of 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
There was a second. I have
Oh, was there?
Mr. Williams, second.
Mr. Williams.
Any questions from the council? Questions from the audience? Please cast your vote.
Mr. Smith, did yours pop up?
There it is.
Motion carries. Reports, Angela Williamson, Finance Director, Monthly Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Council and Mayor Chandler. You have before you the financials for the month ended June 30th, 2024. Page 1 is revenue by fund. The city is currently 15% over budget. The increase in fire improvement and operations fund revenue and decrease in streets and drainage fund revenue is due to a correction in the sales tax allocation between the two funds. The increase in sales tax capital fund revenue is due to a transfer of $280,000 from EMS capital for radio equipment. Page 2 is expenses by fund. The city's currently 8% under budget. The majority of the decrease in general fund expenditures is related to payroll. There were 3 payrolls in June 2023 and 2 payrolls in June 2024. The majority of the decrease in sewer fund expenditures is due to a decrease in sewer administration bad debt expense compared to June 2023. The majority of the decrease in EMS fund expenses is due to 3 payrolls in June 2023 compared to 2 payrolls in June 2024, combined with a decrease in bad debt expense. Page 3 is the sales tax comparative report. Sales tax revenue is down 5.3% compared to June 2023. Page 4 is the Manning report. There are 6 less full-time employees than last month, and full-time employees are 59 under budget. There are 3 less part-time employees than last month, and part-time employees are 7 under budget. Page 5 is the water and sewer utility report. Net operating income after debt service for June 2024 has increased significantly compared to prior year. Current year-to-date income has increased 10% from prior year and is 1% over budget. On a rolling 12-month basis, net operating income is up 12%. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Angela, I'm sorry. How much did you say that the debt service had increased on the water? I'm sorry, I was reading.
Oh, the bad debt expense?
Yeah. And you may not have an actual.
For sewer administration, bad debt, June 2023 was $274,431, and none for June 2024.
Okay,
So
thank you.
it's just a timing issue of when they
Timing
do
issue of
their
when they-
write-offs.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Engineering Department Monthly Project Report.
Good afternoon, council. This is the update for July. Currently, we have 82 million in ongoing design and construction projects. 65 million of that is currently in projects under construction, the bulk of which is the carriageway. 16 projects are in the design or bid phase, so those are in the queue. We're hoping to get one of those out of the bid phase today. And then we have 6 projects that are currently actively under construction, and then 4 subdivisions that we're overseeing for the city. The carriageway, currently we're sitting at 98% complete. The time elapsed is 92%. And this is as of a couple weeks ago. Based on their current working days, they are 37 days ahead of schedule. And you probably noticed they're cleaning up, getting ready to do striping, working through various finish items out there.
Bean, can I interrupt you right there? Did you ever get the shopping center parking lot or entranceways figured out down there? I saw they tore them all out. How many entrances are they gonna have down there?
So
Scotto's in the shopping center.
it's a complicated
I know.
question. Simplistically speaking, yes. We talked to Scotto's. You're talking about the
Strip center.
Benton Road Auto.
No, the other one, the strip
Is
center.
it strip
that-
club or strip center?
No, there is no strip club. Strip center where the end zone is, there's a Chinese restaurant and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
So, we have approached DOTD to modify some of the access to the strip center that you're talking about, Councilman Hammond, specifically to look at, there's a strip center that's not owned by the city south of that, adjacent to it. And looking at, we proposed a right-in, right-out at that location, and in conjunction with a shared use access agreement between those property owners so that it's kind of centrally located. We sat down with DOTD, they're in favor of that. It's gonna take some legal work to get that across the finish line. But outside of that,
So they're both happy.
I mean,
Happy as
happy
they
is
can
I think that there's probably some looming, stuff going on with that strip center to the south, but I think we can mitigate that. I believe we've got a good solution there. We were looking at doing a ride-out only close to where the end zone is, right there. That would require modification to the permit that DOTD granted us for that work. And when you look at that, we sat down with DOTD's traffic engineer, it's very close to the intersection of the carriageway at Benton Road. And so the concern DOTD has is that if we put that there, it's gonna produce a contraflow scenario where people are gonna wanna come out and then.
What if
and
we
go
just did it and
southbound.
asked for forgiveness?
You can do that. I would advise against it. I think you're putting people in harm's way.
Well,
by
just the
doing that.
reason I know all of us are asking about that. I mean, that's gonna be a determining factor. I mean, that property needs to be off the city books and back onto a tax book.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be a determining factor on how many, entrances and exits they have into that strip center where they can, whoever purchases it can, get their people in and out of it.
Yeah, and I need to be careful in communicating my opinion there, but controlled access is very normal. There's gonna be thousands of vehicles going across that area. And, Bossier has grown to the point where we just can't ignore the need to control access on our major thoroughfares. It's there. And so DOTD wants to implement those measures. I support those. I get it, that people want convenience in accessing their property. We believe that a good solution there would be to provide a central right-in, right-out. I think that helps with the property owner to the south of the city. The other component that DOTD expressed was that, that was a reason why Bossier bought the property way back whenever they bought it, was that, it was to cancel out any hardship that would occur by eliminating those entrance and exits to that property. I forget the word they used. I've shared that with Charles, but, I think we've got room there. In talking with the property owners on the east side of the road, they all seem to be comfortable with the way things are progressing out there, so,
And there's not an exit coming out right at the red light, is there?
no.
Out of either one, Cascado's is a little further down.
They're north.
It's kind of in the middle, isn't it, of,
Well, Scott, we're talking about Benton Road Auto? You
Yeah.
say? Yeah, so
Yeah.
they're north, and he, I think, acquired the property to the north of that. He actually helped the situation. He's got a brand-new facility he's building out there. That was one of the things that was driving us to make some decisions, because his development was hinging on where that driveway went, and DOTD wanted to make sure that we weren't going in and just adding driveways and asking for forgiveness because they wouldn't permit his driveway if we were doing that.
okay.
So that's what drove some of these other, I thought, to be very constructive and beneficial conversations with DOTD. I mean, there is some avenue there to maneuver driveways in there, and I think to make the property better. I think the best thing for the city is to put the drive in and get shared use access agreements between the property owners there so that they can, and they currently are.
Yeah, they currently are, but
They're
it's just
currently in-
one.
Yeah, currently using that now, but there's nothing that I can find, and I think Charles has even looked, that shows where those properties had a filed multi-access or shared use access agreement, which you would normally see. So we're working through that.
Okay.
Charles, and it brought up a point that we have talked about for a long time. Can we get that shopping center and the oil change place, see how much we can get out of them and get them up for sale?
Well, we could, but we need to see what the final, I guess design is the right word, or what the final on the ground looks like. So we don't want to get into a situation where we sell a property where, you know, it appears that they have one, you know, some type of access, and then that access changes with DOTD. You do have, as Ben mentioned, and you do have a property, basically, for lack of a better expression, that's in the middle there. And there are no shared use access agreements, you know, between those properties. So technically speaking, if one owner or business owner decides to put up a fence or to, you know, block access, you know, to anybody but their customers, then, you know, that, you know, all that could be problematic. And so substantial completion is due probably sometime at the end of August, beginning of September. And once substantial completion begins to run, then we have been looking at those access problems, and it's an ongoing negotiation with DOTD at the present time. We don't know exactly, you know, DOTD giveth and they taketh away, and we need to know concretely what it's gonna look like. And then once that happens, then we can move forward.
Yeah, let's just keep that in the back of our mind.
And we were actively working that. A couple other items, I know Councilman Ammons, we're working through a reconciliation of change order for this project. It's close to soup to bring that before the council. I've also sat down with the contractors talking about Citizens Bank Drive and what that
Yeah.
number looks like.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Phyllis, I just got a message that live stream is down.
Upstairs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably my ugly mug that shut it
IT?
down. So, just want to communicate that we're working through that. I sat down with Beast Engineering earlier this week. We got a price from JB James to do Citizens Bank Drive. They've looked at that in comparison to what the DOTD has state averages that they put out on what those unit prices would be, to make sure that the price that we're given is a reasonable price for the proposed work before I bring that to you, and it looks like we're on target to do that.
Well, I mean, it would be cheaper for JB James to do it. They're already,
Yeah, and
you know, they're
considering,
already set up, they're there, so.
considering what happened today with the ditch, I don't,
Then again, they may not want to do it.
they do, I mean, they're on board. But I can't bring it before the council until I'm comfortable that the number we have is a reasonable number, and
Do
we're,
you think that they're going to be able to finish that bin in a timely manner from when the carriageway opens?
yes, sir, I do. It's designed, it's ready to go, and short of us approving it administratively here, they could begin work on it immediately. There's no permits or things that have to be done on that. All of that's complete. So I would contend that that's a recommended course of action, subject to the council being comfortable with that.
Okay.
But I'm not prepared to bring it to y'all until we've vetted that. I had a couple of questions related to what they provided. They're working through that, and then I'll bring that to
And that's
y'all.
not something you want to add on to Wade at Public Works, and let Wade do that?
No,
Okay,
no.
all right. He's got that concrete experience.
He's got plenty to do.
Yeah, so,
Any other questions with this project?
when's it going to be open?
August,
August?
yeah.
Do you have any more questions about that project?
Sometime in August?
It's tricky. I've communicated this, and I know that date moves, but I don't have it's not a calendar date
Yeah.
contract. So it's very difficult for me to be able to tell you when. Like these, I can tell you, you guys have seen out here, this project currently ahead of schedule. This is the municipal complex. About 41% complete, 34% of the time has elapsed. The main thing we're waiting on here is just delivery of materials. And then, much of that'll come into shape very quickly. Airline Drive overlay, we're behind on this one. Most people would consider us done. What's the delay here is the signal improvements we need to make at the intersection of Airline and Whipple, and the delay is just the delivery of the signal cabinet. I understand that to be shipped August 10th. Once that arrives, we'll be able to get that intersection complete, put this project to bed. But we get a lot of calls about the cones and why this and why that. It's because it's not complete. Wahlberg Park, I don't have an action shot on that. We're a little behind on this project. We're about 8% complete, and 19% of the contract time has elapsed. I believe they delivered the steel this week, or will be delivering that steel this week, so that thing will pick up pace. They got a little sidetracked with some of the weather we had, and we're not able to get the foundation completed as quickly as they wanted. Golden Meadows turn lane, they're a little ahead of schedule. We're working, I know Councilman Hammonds, this is in your district, and you've got folks calling you, I've got folks calling us. We sat down, we're in a bit of a holding pattern because there's 3 brand new lights. 2 of those were positioned outside the turn lane. However, the third one south of the intersection, when this went through DOTD to get permitted, they requested that the turn lane get extended. It's extended into the light. We've got to move the light. We're working with Dale's Paving right now to get that pricing. And then we'll get that done and they'll pick up out there. But so far, the reason they're ahead is because they started, we gave them a little bit of a running start before their time started there. Traffic signal upgrade, it continues to move. We're having some integration challenges between what we put out in the field and the capabilities we have here in the server rooms and things like that, but we're working through that. That's going as good as to be expected. There's about 80 plus of those, and it's a complex project, but one that's much needed. Private development, these are new except for Rocket Fast. The other 2 developments have been complete, so we have Kane's Landing, Unit 4, the park, and then Waterford Bend, Phase 2. Some items of note in here, You guys are welcome. I gave you copies of this. I'm trying to see if it's on here. Probably is, but we were accepted to move forward with what we're calling the Anita Ditch Project, which was part of that stormwater master plan work. We're proud of that one. It looks like we're gonna get probably a couple million in grant funds. And if y'all know where Anita Ditch is, it's out there off of North Gate, close to the base over there. There's been chronic drainage problems for a long time. We've studied that, have a good plan put in place, and we're optimistic that we'll get funding from DOTD to supplement. You'll see a resolution come before the council in a couple weeks. There'll be some commitment by the city on that, but I believe that to be a worthwhile cause. And then we're pushing a host of other projects there. Is there any specific one on the list?
I have a question on the Council on Aging building. After
Sure.
our last meeting, there was some homework to be done. Have we gathered that?
The homework's been gathered. Amanda in the frog in her pocket did that. I think simplistically, I don't want to misquote, but I'd say we spend south of 20,000 a year on operating the current facility. And I shared with the Council on Aging last week sort of my recommendation on how I felt like we needed to progress, because we're not making any progress.
Right.
We've spent a lot of time considering other entities to, seek funding and cooperation with. And, it's, at this point, I don't know what more I can do. I need Council on Aging to tell me we want to do it, or we want to wait and carry on, looking for some partners, which is fine. I think it was the right thing to do. We're just not getting much buy-in from, these other entities. And so I believe strongly, just my opinion, we need to be about putting that facility together, even if we do it in phases. And I believe once we put a phase together and get that under construction, and we have a plan for multiple phases, I think we can get monies from the state or elsewhere to help support that. I can't guarantee that, but
Right.
that's my opinion for what it's worth. But Council on Aging needs to make that decision, and then I'm ready to engage it with everything I've got.
Okay. Are you done? Can I ask a few other questions? Okay. The road construction that's,
What are you doing?
I didn't do anything. The road construction that's supposed to happen tomorrow on Shed Road for 3 days, is that a city engineering project, or is that a railroad project?
It's railroad. I've gotten some questions on that. I don't understand them, but
My thought process, and we got a lot of traffic issues right now because we're doing road work, and that's only a 2.5-day project. Why not just do it on a Saturday and Sunday?
it will go through the weekend. I mean, they've got to gear up and get started and then get it done. But I expect them to be there through the weekend before they complete that. That's being driven by the railroad, and truthfully, I think they're being pretty accommodating in regards to how long it's gonna take. I mean, they understand the disruption, but when you drive that area, it's terrible.
It
It's
is.
been terrible forever.
Yeah, no, it definitely needs to be done. I just trying to think of a way to not affect traffic as much, because I feel like I live almost as far down in South Bossier as you can go, and I work up in North Bossier, and so I travel all these roads every day, and I have to alter my route almost every day because of construction, which is good. Tax dollars are being spent wisely on good projects, but it can also be a pain sometimes.
Yeah,
So
it
if
is
it's-
painful, and we appreciate that. I didn't see benefit in delaying that work. It's work that's been delayed far too long. It needs to happen. I was elated to get buy-in from the railroad company, even get it done. We've gotten, the city gets calls routinely about vehicle damage and other things at that intersection. We get calls just about the condition of it, so we had it set up for, I think, 2 weeks prior, and there was a bit of a hiccup on the traffic control. And the railroad was expecting the city to do the traffic control. We're not in that business. So they retooled, got the appropriate traffic control they needed to get installed, and we're gonna get after it. But, yeah, it will be inconvenient, and I'm empathetic. I'm in the roads as well, but I think the pain here is worth it.
Good. Any other thing, council? Mayor?
Thank you all.
Look, I thought about you this time.
Thank you, Brother Don.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. President. There are a number of things going on in our city right now. And over the last week or so, early this week, Bossier City joined with several other local organizations as we pledge to work together to keep our city clean. It is called the Greatest American Cleanup, and our local sponsors is Keep Bossier Beautiful. This week's, starting on Wednesday, our area will be welcomed to LMA, the Louisiana Municipal Association. This is a group that will consist of mayors throughout the state. This is an annual conference, and it will be hosted by the great city of Bossier and Shreveport. And lastly, I want to take this time to compliment the Bossier Parks and Rec and tell them personally how proud I am of the amazing work they have done to put the Diamond Youth League World Series together. This event has brought in visitors from all over the country here to Bossier. We've had teams from Virginia, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Texas, and South Carolina, and many other places. We've had over 3,000 parents and players and coaches for the opening ceremony in our Civic Center, and I want to thank Ms. Carroll for getting that all together. I thank you for that. All of our hotels and restaurants have been completely full for the entire week, and starting this Thursday, there's going to be another group of teams to be playing in the World Series, and there's going to be even more teams coming. Everyone that has come to, this is what's great, everyone that has come to our sports complex has talked about how great it is and well-maintained the fields are. I am proud of the entire BPAR team, and I want to personally acknowledge Coach Bohannon, Lewis Cook, and Kenny for their hard work and leadership while preparing for the World Series tournament. And right now, I'm fixing to go over and talk to a whole bunch of kids. It's the military back-to-school night at the Civic Center, so there's going to be a good group of kids in the Barksdale in the military area, so that's always good to see them. It's a big group of kids. So, thank y'all, and it's great to be in Bossier City.
If there's no other business, meeting adjourned.